Let's go out to Nashville, Tennessee, where we find James Palmer. And James, I know you've been watching Titans practice there. So Marcus Mariota, he's coming off a year where he threw a career low 11 touchdowns. And I just want to know what you've seen from Mariota on the field, and is there anything that maybe leads you to believe that there's some concern in the building with that position?
Well, let's look at that position, and let's go back to yesterday first, Colleen, before we get into today. Now, let's not read too heavily into this, but yesterday they had a situational practice, a lot of two-minute stuff, a lot of different situations that head coach Mike Vrabel believes are extremely important. And when you go over these things, it might win you a game or two because of the work you put in. Marcus Mariota took individuals and then sat out that portion of practice. It was Ryan Tannehill yesterday that worked with the number ones during those situational periods. Now, again, I said don't read too much into this because Vrabel does believe that Mariota knows a lot of this from last year because of the carryover, so they wanted to get Tannehill some experience working with the ones and working in the situational stuff that they work on here in Tennessee. Now, Tannehill did play very well yesterday in practice. Now fast forward to today, they're in shoulder pads, Mariota back out there with the number ones, and one part that's going to play a lot into how he plays this season is particularly the receiver group. If you look at what's happened with the receiver crew since he's been in the NFL, they're last in receiving yards. They're second to last in touchdowns by receivers. They haven't had a guy catch more than 75 passes since 2013 with Kendall Wright. Now you bring in a guy like Adam Humphries in free agency, a slot guy, a guy that early on I'm told is building a good chemistry with Mariota, a guy that's not a big home run hitter, but someone that could be maybe that safety blanket in the slot and that consistency for Marcus Mariota. And then they go and draft A.J. Brown, who on the first day of camp goes down with an injury. I just saw him head out to the practice field. This is 2 days in a row now he's been out there, but he's not doing anything. He's an addition that they hope is a versatile receiver that can play inside, that can play outside, and be another physical weapon for Mariota. And hopefully Corey Davis gets through injuries that have happened in the past and he continues to develop as well. That's kind of why they're handling A.J. Brown in the manner in which they are. If you remember to Davis's rookie year, a hamstring injury carried over, lingered a little bit throughout the season and affected his rookie year. They don't want that to happen with Brown, so being cautious there. You mentioned those three guys, Colleen. They can be a big help to Mariota in the passing game that can help him, and also Delaney Walker still getting back to 100%, missed 15 games last season. All of these weapons, hopefully, could be an addition to helping Mariota, who's had a lot of inconsistency in his career, multiple head coaches, different offensive schemes, maybe finding some consistency at the receiver spot could help him out and have a more productive year playing now in his fifth year of his rookie contract.
And they brought in Roger Saffold as well, as we're talking about additions to this team. But this is an offensive line that's going to be dealing with the suspension of Taylor Lewan. And this was the identity of the team, this line that could help them be the smash mouth team. Is there any concern around that offensive line?
Well, the interesting part is you go around to all these camps, Kylie, and you hear different coaches say, yeah, we'd like to get consistency with our offensive line as quickly as possible. We want to get that chemistry going with our guys up front. Mike Vrabel's a little bit different. He wants to use these preseason games because, again, they know what's happening with Taylor Lewan. They want to figure out within these games what's going to be the best setup for them. It's been Dennis Kelly, who's a right tackle, playing over there at that left side in place of Lewan. And then look at the right guard spot. That's going to be a spot that you should keep your eye on. Also, their center, Ben Jones, is taking some first-team snaps over there, and they're trying to figure out that spot as well. As you mentioned, this is a strength of this team because they focus so much down the stretch on the run game with Derrick Henry and able to pound the football so brilliantly from week 14 really on. They want to make sure they find that consistency. It's going to start on Thursday against the Philadelphia Eagles, where in these games, Mike Vrabel wants to be able to find out which group's going to be his best, especially for those first four games where he doesn't have Taylor Lewan.
Jack Conklin also coming back from that ACL, but flip it around to the other side on the defense. Do you see them being able to continue their dominant play that they had? It was so good last year. Is that something, a focus for them, and what do you expect from the defense?
Well, we know the defensive mind that Mike Vrabel has and what they do here defensively, specifically on the secondary. You look at a lot of the guys that are back there, and that's a talented group. If you look at all three of their cornerbacks, Doris Jackson, and you have Malcolm Butler, and then you also have two safeties that can really play, especially one of the best safeties in football. and Logan Ryan, also that other corner that plays back there. So the secondary, they feel like they're in a really good spot. When you go up front, I think that's where you're trying to see if things are going to start to mesh and get into the position where they want them to be. You have a guy in Cameron Wake who comes in, but then you have Jarrell Casey, who's also trying to come back, and you use your first-round pick on a defensive lineman as well as Jeffrey Simmons. So there's some questions up front. I think their strength is definitely in the secondary.
Yeah, for sure. So that defense, pretty set, but the offense now, and of course, Marcus Mariota and Ryan Tannehill, all eyes will be on the quarterback position, as it is always. James, thank you so much. I'm going to bring back that discussion here with you, Joe, and with Marcus Mariota. And we had the Titans on, I believe you were with us for that game.
I was there. Yeah, that was a great game.
Titans-Jags. Yeah, so we got to see Marcus Mariota up close and personal. But what do you want to see from him this year? And are you concerned at all that there might be some trouble in paradise there?
Well, this is clearly a huge year for Marcus Mariota because he was one of the top picks in the draft. You expect him right now sort of to hit his stride in the prime of his career to become that franchise quarterback that they hoped he could be. And he really just hasn't shown enough consistency to be considered that guy who's going to be your 10 to 15-year franchise quarterback. And so I think this year is really when they're going to find out, is he going to be our guy long term, or do we maybe have to look somewhere else and find a different guy who can be that franchise quarterback?
Yeah, they have the new offensive coordinator there, Arthur Smith. It's Mariota's 5th offensive coordinator in the last 5 years. You played with a ton of different offensive coordinators.
Just a handful. I think I had 9 different offensive coordinators in 11 seasons, so I can commiserate with him a little bit. But that clearly is a factor in maybe holding back his development a little bit, because the quarterback position has clearly the most to learn from an X's and O's and a scheme standpoint of any position on the football field, even more than an offensive lineman. And I feel like we had a lot to learn, let me tell you. But Marcus has really been held back, I think, because when you have so much to learn and you're constantly changing coordinators, you're constantly becoming a rookie all over again. He needs to be able to have some consistency in that offense where he can start building on the things that he's learned and get to that graduate level of thinking, which is where you want your quarterback to be consistently successful.
Yep. Well, we know that he was banged up last year as well. They missed the playoffs. We'll see if this is, in fact, a make or break season for Marcus Mariota.